That 70K deal that he just closed is gonna be in this room. He'll take you from A to Z on what happened on that deal and how he got it closed in budget. Damien, who's the uniform agent, sub two and actual flipper, he's gonna be in this back office, it's a little smaller office, but he's gonna be doing agent outreach, so if you guys wanna know what it sounds like calling an agent, you wanna call an agent yourself, hop in that back room, rotate around. Jabs and Noise, they're gonna hook up kind of right here. They're gonna make a live call. Is that a seller or an agent? Okay, so they're gonna make a live call. If you guys wanna hear that call, they're gonna just be hanging around here. And then Harrison, if you don't mind hanging around this island, if you guys have land deals or want to understand how you comp a land deal, Harrison's gonna do that. Any questions before we get started? Oh, okay, let's roll. David, you get back there? Perfect.
I don't, but are you write my write my number Rosanna Cora? Yeah. And then my number is 682-410-1108. And then if you could just send me a message. All right, that'll be it. Yeah, that works. No worries. Underwrite the deal. I guess we're supposed to underwrite this deal. Yeah. So everybody, can you shut that? All right, disclosure and thanks for that word. Chris.
Where we go?
How you doing?
I think it provides quite space back there. Let's go.
Can you use the Wi-Fi here?
Oh, no, we're gonna go back here. I'll leave the way.
Oh, okay.
Zacky's gonna underwrite a deal. If you wanna hear a sub two call, we're gonna go back here.
All right, you guys know what sub 2 is, right? Everybody in here knows what a sub 2 is?
Can you explain it more?
Yeah, so basically whenever you go buy a house a traditional way, you gotta get qualified by a bank, right? So when you go get qualified by a bank, you sign a deed to the property which shows ownership that you are the owner, right? And then you sign a note to a promissory note to the bank saying that, hey, the bank loans you $200,000, you're gonna pay that over time. Okay? But I mean, you can own a property, you can sign a deed over to me and the debt still be in your name, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when you buy a house sub 2, you're taking over ownership, meaning the deed will transfer to me, but the debt will still be in your name. So on this particular deal, I bought the house subject to the seller's debt was still in his name, but the deed transferred over to me.
So you're taking over like the payments?
Right. So I'll make the payments on the seller's behalf, but I didn't have to go to the bank to get qualified for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I basically just got a free house. Okay. Did everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I did was, so these are just preliminary numbers. So I could rent the property out for $1,600 a month. The ARV on it was $225, and I essentially bought the property for $155,000. The reason being, the debt on the house at the time I bought it was $135,000, right? But I paid the seller $20,000 to take over the debt, or that was a part of my entry fee, cash to sell it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Does anybody have questions on that?
Okay. So you paid $20,000 up front.
Yeah.
To that seller.
Correct.
Oh, 130 on the mortgage.
Correct. So your all-in basis is $155,000. Because you still have the underlying debt that you owe to the bank, the seller owes to the bank, and you stack the $20,000 that you paid to the seller. So you're all-in basically on the debt on the house is looked at $155,000.
Did you use a private money lender?
I did. I used my dad.
The original private money.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, but to just touch on what Zach said, he paid $20,000 to the homeowner. But in this realm of creative, did Zach actually have to come out of pocket that full $20,000, or was that something he could have also been creative with? So keep that in mind, people. Just
So how did
because
you, which way are you paying it back? Like, are they getting like ownership of the property, are they getting like cash flow every month, or did you do like your dad, the 20,000? How did you structure like what they're making on that investment?
I told Dad, I'm gonna give you $13,000 more in 90 days if you give me $20,000.
Okay. Okay.
So if I said
you can be really
absolutely.
flexible.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I was
Private
curious,
money
like, how
lending
you do
is
it.
great because you have the leverage, you have the money, you can create your own terms, right? But him being my dad, he was like, okay. He's the one who got me in real estate anyway. So I told him, I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna basically give you $13,000 in about 90 to 120 days. What's up?
Why didn't you sell or finance the 20?
Why didn't I start financing 20?
The 20,000, like have the seller.
why don't you break the $20,000 into payments instead of just paying them the $20,000
Right.
up front? Is the
The
question.
seller was not gonna go for that.
He would get it.
They wanted upfront cash.
Yeah, because he knew he had equity in the house already, right? Even with the market going down, he knew So I was like, okay, if I gave you $20,000, what would be the next step? He said he'll sign the agreement right now. So I said, okay, let's do it. Yes, ma'am.
Where did the lead come from?
SEO. You know what SEO is?
No. Yeah.
So if you, where are we at? Addison?
Search,
Search engine optimization.
So if you search sell my house fast in your prospective area, the goal for SEO is that your site will be popped up, your site will rank in the top 3, right? So we're in Dallas right now. This is like PPC, so pay-per-click, Google Ads. So people pay for their websites to be at the top of Google, right? And for me, I don't pay for ads. I do stuff organically. So I'll post content. I have a website with Carrot, and so I want my stuff to rank organically, so I don't have to pay every month for Google Ads. Okay. So my website is the mid or bottom of page 1 for that specific keyword, and that's my website right there. So sellers will go out and they'll type stuff like that, like sell my house fast, we buy houses, to find somebody to buy their house because they're in a desperate situation. And it's been proven that people that go out searching for stuff like that, they're more motivated than someone who you're cold calling, right? So this person reached out to me and said they filled out a form right here on my website. This is me and my dad, ex-military. That's my guy.
I saw you. You were everywhere.
Yeah.
I saw that picture. That was the first thing I saw.
Yeah, we do.
How long did it take you to build it where you
About a year.
like one of the
About a year and a half. Yeah. It takes a lot of time and a lot of money to keep it.
Like to be up there in the searches?
Yeah, top 3. You want to be in the top. You really want to be ranked number 1. That's extremely hard because there's a lot of keywords to rank for, right? But that same token, there's a lot of keywords to rank for. So for sell my house fast, you may be ranked number 1, but we buy houses, you may be ranked number 10.
Yeah.
Right? But you want to be ranked top 3 for most of the keywords. Right?
How much did you spend to get to top 3?
A lot of money.
I was gonna say, what what were the kind of KPIs and price points you were looking at as you were developing that strategy?
So for SEO, I knew that if I could rank top 3 for a lot of keywords, I'll make my money back in 60 days, right?
Yeah.
And so I started in 21. I had just closed, I'll take you all the way back. So I just closed a $40,000 deal in 21. And I knew that this is the way I want to go because hand jamming sellers is kind of annoying, right?
Yeah.
You know, wholesaling is a burn and churn business. Like you got to keep dialing, you got to keep texting, you got to keep sending direct mail. And all that is great, right? I'm not saying that you can't be successful doing that. But for me, I like my job. I'm doing real estate at my W-2 is a fantastic gig in private equity, right? And so I like it. And we do real estate on a much larger scale. Like we do, $86 million transactions on multifamily deals, right? And we syndicate to other investors to rate, all that stuff. Anyway, I knew that if I could get leads to come to me, I would be much more successful than managing VAs to cold call while I'm at work, right? So just identifying kind of what works for you. So to answer your question, Evan, I knew that once I get everything solidified, if I got 12 sellers to fill out a form, I'm going to close one deal easily.
I'm sorry, I got a question.
Sure.
Because I know that in this business, time management is everything.
Sure.
And we talk a little bit about your time balance with your job, but
Yeah.
also running this
Sure.
amazing company that you have. Like, how do you operate that?
Sure. So I have one VA. I had 2, but people who have VAs know you gotta let some go. They're not put forth the right effort, right? So I had to let one go, and the one that I have is just a rock star, right? So when I first started, Jabs mentioned driving for dollars, right? So I would get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning when I first started, drive for dollars, right? I had deal machines, so I upload 25 to 50 properties every day, and then when I got home afterward, I cold called, right? And so that I got 2 deals from now. I was like, okay, I got some money now. I can actually buy some, get some VAs. So I started the VA stuff while I'm still working, and I realized, time management is super important when you're working at W2. So I would get up early, identify what we need to do, whether it be pull the list, organize the list so they can call it while I'm at work. And then when I get home, all the leads that they generated, I'm calling them and following up to make sure that they're leads. If they're not leads, I'll send a note to my VA, like, hey, this wasn't a lead. I'll send them the recording, tell them, hey, this is what you need to work on. And every Friday, we would get on an actual call and go over how the week went, right? And then on the weekends, you got to go in on the weekends. Because there's a lot of time you're wasting while you're at your job.
Yes.
So you got to go in on the weekends. I didn't really sleep much. I'm still trying to identify ways to be successful in the business.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. Sure. So yeah, the lead came in on my website, immediately called them. I think he came in on a Saturday. I was getting a haircut. I finished my haircut. Him and I got on the phone. That Sunday, I locked the deal up. Okay. And this was in December of last year. I caught a flight to Europe. As I'm going to Europe, we closed on it, so I'm getting everything worked out because I was going to hold this and add it to the portfolio, right? And this is something I want everybody to take home with. If you don't learn anything, learn this, right? If you buy a house, right, before you close on it, make sure you get an inspection, okay? Make sure you get an inspection. Y'all know what an inspection, like a home inspection is, right?
No more sign on scene. Exactly.
Right? And I had boots on the ground, right? This was near Austin. I had boots on the ground, right? And they walked in, they're like, Zach, it just needs a new roof. But if you're gonna rent it out, you can hold off on getting a new roof, right? And this person was an agent. She has a lot of experience in the game. So I'm like, cool, that's fine. Paint, carpet, is ready for a rental, And I came back from Europe and they started working on it. And keep in mind, it was a vacant house. The seller lived in Illinois. And we went through a lot of freezes in Texas. And I didn't even think about that. The water wasn't turned on at all. So we get back, we started work on it. And come to find out, like, every possible bad thing that could happen happened. Like, we turned the water back on to get everything going. Leak left and right.
Sound.
Oh my God.
Start running across the house.
Yep. Leaks. I had 4 leaks in that house. So we fixed one, and then another leak will pop up.
Do you have any slab leaks?
No. Thank God we didn't.
You got lucky, brother.
Yeah. Thank God we didn't. Because they had to take everything off. All the drywall.
Shaw picked up a house, and he picked it up sub 2. No inspection.
Yep.
Property just had foundation issue.
Yep.
Plumbing everywhere.
Yeah, I got lucky. So make sure you get an inspection done, because that could have been avoided. In fact, if I would have got the inspection, I could have negotiated down on the price.
Got that $20,000 down.
Exactly.
Guys, I can't even tell you. Zach can tell you. I don't know how many properties I've bought, and I walk in, and sure enough, there's a big surprise.
Man.
And I had my own construction crews running for my fix and flips back in the day. So if you guys are not versed in that arena, this is what this is for. Network with those people that know what to look for. Network with those people that know what that repair is going to cost you. Find those people, have those conversations. It's going to take you so much less time to get acclimated in your strategy if you can say, okay, well, I could spend another year learning how to comp. I could spend another year learning how to underwrite.
Right.
Or I could pick up the phone and I can call Zach.
Yeah.
You can call me.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yep. So locked it up, got the everything fixed really, and then I look up and my cash on cash return is just gone, right? Because I spent more money than I anticipated on getting the property ready to go. I thought it was just gonna be carpet and paint. It ended up being $15,000 worth of rehab, right? And we're in this business to make money, not lose money, right? And then of course my dad's money's locked into it too, so I'm like, I got to get off of it. So, you know, here we'll underwrite it. So the after repair value, I sold it for $225. My underlying debt was like $155 plus maybe $10K in other repairs, miscellaneous stuff. So let's just call it $165.
Your dad's debt is included in that 165, right?
Right. Yeah, that's why I just changed it. Yep. And my cash on cash wasn't great at all, and I was just tired. You know, whenever bad things start to happen to a property, like I don't want to continue to happen, right? So I thought it was just a sign for me to go ahead and just get off of it, make the money, and then go deploy it to another creative deal, right? One thing in this business, you can't be in love or tied to a house at all. That's both on the acquisition and dispo side, okay? You know, I know it's hard to get deals, and so we get married to this deal. We really want it to close, and so we start becoming oblivious to all the bad stuff, like all the red flags, right? And for this deal, I'm like, I can see all the red flags. I'm done, right? So luckily, I bought it at a low enough basis to where if I sold it at ARV at 225, I can still come out to the green, okay? So I'm at 160, all in at 165. I end up selling the house at 225, right? I listed it on, I don't know, on a Monday, accepted an offer Monday night, right? So it was a clean cut, good deal. And then the sellers came by, they noticed that, oh, it was a VA loan. And typically in this area, there's a lot of VA buyers, right? And you know what VA loans are, 0 down, right? And so they had a concession. You guys know what concessions are? So concession is like, basically, they want a decrease in the purchase price. So they don't have to come to the table with money. They basically just buy a house using their VA loan, right? So they negotiated a $66,000 concession. So what we did was, in fact, the purchase price is actually $220, but we raised the purchase price to $225 with a $6K concession. So I basically sold the house for $219. Does that make sense? So they came to the closing table with no money, right? You guys understand that?
So you were able to fix that problem by raising the price?
Yeah, you can do that, right? Realtors are savvy. They do that all the time,
Okay.
right? You just, buyer's agents and seller agents, they understand that. So they're like, okay, well, instead of having my client drop the purchase price, we're going to raise the purchase price and give you the 6K concession. That way, the net to me is still the same. You're just finessing the
And the
purchase
buyer
price.
didn't wanna pay anything coming out of it.
Right, yeah. With VA loans, you don't have to.
Because those concessions, they can apply them to, like the closing costs
Right.
and like all those like out of pocket expenses that they normally have to come to the table
So
with.
y'all were working the VA loan system there?
Who?
The agents were working basically the system by raising the price?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah. They're savvy that way.
got it.
And so, I mean, that's basically it. I wish Jabs never even said that. But yeah, so I got it. I think the actual net was $70,509 and like 30 cents.
So this was a subtail.
It was a subtail. Yeah, absolutely. You guys know what hotel is, right?
Yeah.
A hotel is you basically buy a house at a wholesale price and you stick it right back on the market. Well, this, I took it sub 2, meaning I bought it subject to, and I took it to the market. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, wait, so can you explain wholesale again?
Yeah, so you know what a wholesale is?
Yeah.
What is wholesale?
So you locking the property up, getting a cash buyer, and I've done a wholesale deal, but I never used it on market, so I guess I'm a little confused with buying it at that price, you locking it up for it and put it on the market. So I just wanted to kind of run that back.
So you've done a hotel deal but didn't take it to market.
No.
So this is a hotel deal.
So it's a wholesale, right? You signed it, or did you double close on it?
I signed it.
Yeah,
So it'd just be a wholesale,
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
wholesale. So
Yeah.
a hotel deal is you buying it at a wholesale basis, at a wholesale price, but the property is in such good shape that you can take it to market. You can list it.
You'll get more money that way, because you get like a regular homeowner versus getting like an investor. 'Cause the
Right.
investor won't maybe pay that much money for it.
Right.
Like that's what we do ours is innovation, so we don't
Right.
have to close on it now.
Sure, sure.
But innovations are basically the same way. We're like, you get it at like a lower price, and then you're able to, you take it on market and sell it on market, so you can get the higher price point.
It's just
Then
buying an
the cash buyer
off-market
would
property and then selling it on market.
Do you
Yeah,
close
immediately.
first, or do
On a
you-
hotel?
uh-huh. Do you close
On
and
wholesale,
then list?
yes.
Yeah, you hotel on a hotel deal, you take it down, like you buy it,
Okay.
but it's in good enough shape. You just turn around, put it back on the market. Yeah.
And when you sell it, you pay off the loans immediately?
On a subtel?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you can have your buyer coming out.
Yeah, yeah.
We acquired it subject to, but we're selling it traditional.
Right, so the buyer completed the rest of the payments.
Yes.
Well, yeah, the VA loan wipes out the underlying
Right,
debt.
existing.
The buyer's VA loan
Right.
wipes out the underlying debt. Okay. Does that make sense?
Kind of. I mean, I
So
guess-
when you buy something subject to, that's an acquisition strategy. That's how you acquire a house, just like you buy a pair of shoes, right? You're buying a house subject to, you're just taking over the payments. You understand what subject to is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I took over the seller's payments, right? But the debt is still in your name, you're the seller. But the deed is in mine. I own the property, I have rights to the property. I can do whatever I want to the property, but the debt is still in your name.
Yeah.
I'm still paying on it, but it's in your name, okay? So what I did was, I realized the property was a piece of crap, and I didn't want to keep it in my portfolio, because I'm spending way too much money, okay? So I was like, well, I bought it at a deep enough discount to where if I took it to market, I ended up selling it, because I have control, I have the deed in my name. The deed, the LLC, I'll show you the deed. It's in my LLC, I have control. I'm just gonna sell it, okay? And so all I needed to do, I have access to the portal, and this is all in the details. Whenever you buy stuff too, you gotta get access to their portal and make the payments, all that stuff, right? I had access to all that. So I can control what I need to get to the finish line. So I logged into the portal, I requested a loan payoff, okay? The title company requested that because they know how much to send the money to pay the debt off, okay? And so what I did was I sent it to the title company. I said, hey, this is the loan payoff, okay? And then they didn't email me the HUD, it's on my phone. I would have walked through the HUD with you guys, but the VA loan buyer that bought the house, they wiped out the underlying debt. It was at the time, it was like $133,000. Okay, does that make sense? Starting, okay. And so what was left was $70,000 of equity that was in the house when I bought it. So I was able to receive that. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
So for the 70,000 that you got, you still paid your dad?
Yeah.
You gave him 33?
Yeah, 32.
You use no money of yours. when you sell
No.
some home for the 3,000.
Yeah. So of the 20, they made
Just
13.
moving numbers around and negotiate.
Yeah.
Is it any way to get this, or is this not something that you give to people?
I really don't give it to people because people don't know what they're doing with it.
Understood, understood.
but I don't really care. Are you doing sub 2 deals? I just
yeah,
want to make
but
sure if I give it to you, you know how to utilize everything that's in here, right?
The only thing that I can't get through with people is how the structure, like, so I get people that are interested in it, but I have to always pass it out to my partner and be like, hey, can you run the numbers on this and tell me like what an ideal offer is? Like I always have
Is it a cash deal or a creative deal?
It's been so many different ones, so some cash, some creative, but like he always comes back and say, hey, well, whatever the seller would want, we're always able to meet them at the asking price that they want, but they have to be at XYZ for the monthly payment, so they have to come down on the interest in order for us to benefit. And I'm like, I get it, but I don't get enough to explain it. Like I said, I'm an agent, and so I
Oh,
want
okay, I
other
didn't know that.
agents to understand
Yeah.
how it could benefit them and the sellers.
Right.
But I can't spit it enough. I don't know it enough to say it to another agent to make them consider it.
Sure.
Because every time I say like sub two or something to an agent, they hear no commission for themselves, and I'm like, no, that's not how that works. But I can't explain it.
I would start out with saying like, would you be open to something creative and I can still get you all your commissions? That's how we
Yeah,
always
I
like
think so.
start the call.
Yeah, I don't even use words like so too.
Yeah.
No, I do say creatively. I mean, I'm just saying that to you.
What do you say?
I just say, would you be
I-
open for me to take over your payments?
Yeah, I say, would you be? That's what I say.
Yeah, I try to stay away from creative, because then they're like, what does that mean?
Right.
Right? Because you're digging a hole at that point. Just say, I'd be open to taking over your payments, would your client be open to that?
So as a wholesaler, would it be bad for me to assume that my buyer will pay the agent's fees? If I was gonna get a sub-2 deal under contract, I can let my buyer know, hey, the agent expects 30% as well. What's my?
If it's on market,
Or not on market, well, yeah.
So I think
I
that
think
depends.
it depends. Yeah, it depends on your buyer, right? Me personally, I'll pay a commission, because I don't like wholesale anyway, honestly.
Basically, there just needs to be enough money in the deal to pay those commissions. Like, there's some deals that like, it's so low equity that the seller is literally gonna get like nothing at the table, or not enough to pay the commissions. Like, if they owe like 200 and like the purchase price is gonna be like 210, there's not enough in there for closing costs, plus your 6% and all that stuff. So that's when you'd be like, I'll make sure you get paid, like, whatever that needs to look like, if you're open to something creative. And then you just have to like, you would need to like address that with your, client and stuff like that. But that's where like this stuff comes in, and you figure out, what do we need to do to make it work? Like, how do we come, like, what do we need to do to make the commission
This
work,
stuff
stuff
is
like
easy,
that.
because you can come to Zach, Evan, Dan, all of them, is to get them to become the mouth.
Yeah, then you learn as you go, and you learn as you do.
Itself, right?
Yeah, that's just the thing.
Just
I
put up
don't
the
like
phone.
bother. That's the thing. I don't like bothering people. Like, if I get somebody on the phone and like enough time for them to be like, we'll consider it. Can you give me some more information? Then I'm like, shit. I can't. And so that's what I want to be.
You can say, let me email you a couple things, and then you can just have a template that you can get from whoever, and just say, let me email you a little bit more information. You have a Q&A, common questions, what it is, that's it. You don't even have to explain it.
Right, because I don't want to sound like a fraud after I've got them to be
No, of
interested,
course.
and then I'm like,
And you should ask though, like, when they say, can you send me more information? Like what? Like, what do you need to feel comfortable?
Yeah.
okay.
Because oftentimes they're just talking, right? They don't really
Right.
know what information they need.
Yeah.
So you
Right.
ask them, okay, what information are you looking for? Right?
And if you don't want to feel like you're like, you don't know it, you can say like, oh, I generally don't call, I generally do, I'm behind the desk, or, I'm doing something else, my partner generally calls, so if I don't know any questions, I'll be able to get that to you in an email or something.
Okay.
So definitely ask, what are they looking for? That way, at that point, you can address everything that they want, right? Because then if you don't, you're just kind of shooting in the dark. You have no idea. You know what I mean?
I've actually sent a seller just a couple pace videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just here,
That's
watch
a good
these.
Yeah.
For credibility, you guys, we have things like the Loom videos. We have emails that typically get sent out to agents. If the agents don't know, here, let me send you something. We also have things like a letter of intent that's modeled after the verbiage for agents. So it's something that they can understand and something they can see, where you can kind of get that commission question off the table. So you guys can answer those questions. And what I think Zach is also illustrating is a great point. Saying less is saying more.
100%.
Yeah.
Let's not make it overly complex. If I have an agent that I think may have a problem with that, I'm floating a couple different offers and be like, well, I have a different offer. It's a little bit higher, but I can't really give you just that offer because it's mortgage specific. So let's find a little bit more information. Let's get that dialed in. But we do have that ability for that other offer. That lets me test the water, kind of see where that agent's at, and then I can fill in that conversation and then use those things like that letter of intent, that cursory email for that subject to that creative to help bridge that gap for them. And with that being said, I think I hadn't heard any specific dates, but last I heard was the continuing education did get approved by TREC. So they'll be teaching continuing education for creative finance for agents out of this title company.
Oh, cool. That's really
So
great.
that's going to save you guys that conversation later on, because more and more agents, especially in the Metroplex, are going to start taking that creative education course, and now it's going to be an easy thing for them to understand and know who the actual people that are doing it.
The credibility saying that you're trained by track.
Yeah, and that last word I got on that course has been approved.
D Rich, everybody knows D Rich from.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, D Rich is,
Yeah.
I imagine it, he has, I think they're just waiting to get their course. He has the course, he's just waiting.
It's been approved.
It's okay.
The course has been approved,
So
right?
if you look up D Rich, if you're an agent.
Yeah.
You can find the CD there.
JD Home Solutions, all that, so, but yeah, so that's coming out, so that should
They're
make you guys.
teaching them at the school, the agents.
What's
So
that?
I took a champion school
Mhm.
of real estate, and every professor that came was trashing wholesale creative.
Well, and that's
coming,
fine, but the thing,
taking their home. Your job is to make sure.
yeah,
you
because I mean,
locate them.
champions, they've got that limited time frame, right? And they've got to instill upon you that wonderful thing about being an agent, and then the rest of the time is scaring you, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. So real estate school is really good at stamping that fear into you of, you know, stay within your lane, or, you know, you're going to get fined for this, you're going to get fined for that.
Yeah.
But they don't go into that depth of teaching how these actual real estate transactions work. So that course is taking that off your plate. And as that goes, more and more agents, especially in the Metroplex, will know how to have that conversation with you.
I got a question. I have a question. So if we're talking to an agent and they're interested, but they don't really understand, we can send them, is there a list of videos like from Pace that we can send to them?
There's a Loom credibility video that Pace puts out. I think he updates it every couple months or something like that. But again, get with the people in the networking who have like that professional LOI with that real estate agent verbiage.
Okay.
Because now it's like, okay, this isn't the, I rented a video at Blockbuster or, you know, YouTube, and like now I've decided to do real estate, right? This is, okay, wait a minute, let me look at this. This is verbiage I understand. This is somebody who's a professional. So that gives you that credibility as well.
Pace has like a 4 or 5 minute video on YouTube. You can just copy and paste the link. And it's like, what does stuff do? Or, oh, well, owner financing. He just explains it super quickly. So it doesn't have to be super, you know, lengthy video. I think he has a couple short ones on YouTube.
So in addition to that, sometimes what I do is, depending on the type of seller, the type of agent I'm dealing with, I'll reference another agent, right, that I've done a deal with, and they'll speak on my behalf.
Okay, so you get the agent to actually get in contact with them.
Like an agent that I like Diego, for example.
Right.
I'll have Diego reach out and
Right.
solidify that credit, because it brings credibility to myself too. Because typically, you're an agent, you can speak to this actually, but agents like, well, you're two-sided, you're an investor and an agent.
I'm
But,
primarily an investor, I'm just
Right,
licensed.
right.
But
But
sending my
licensed
truck
investor.
number sending my truck number adds a lot of credibility. They're like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
I know how to file a complaint.
agents like dealing
Sounds
with
like
agents, right?
Okay.
So if I get that vibe, then I'll get the agent in my pocket, and then they'll talk on my behalf.
So you're not like.
No, I'm not, no.
But you can say, hey, I closed a deal last month. Let me give you the agent I worked with's number, and they can explain it, right? That agent already knows creative. Oh yeah, I worked with Zach last month. We closed the deal. This is how it went through. This is how it all worked. Super easy. Blah blah blah.
At the end of the day, like a traditional agent, they only care about one thing. I'm sorry if anyone hears it.
No,
They
you're
just
right.
care about their own commission.
You're right.
I care about the assignment fees.
Exactly. Like that's all it comes down to, right?
Right.
And if they feel as though they're not gonna get their commission, they're not gonna work with you. Okay.
And they'll tell you up front. Some of them will say like the seller's not even considered. I'm like, you didn't even ask. You know, I
Exactly.
just
Like, how do you know this?
Yeah, right. Like you just asked the question.
Right.
Yep.
But it's frustrating too.
Yeah.
Very frustrating.
And sometimes that just comes down to what you ask of them. You know, like you let them know ahead of time, like, hey, I want to pay you the commissions.
Mhm.
Then they'll be more open to even asking the seller, like, are you open to it? Versus just shooting.
And one other thing, if your main strategy is going to be like agent outreach, and you're going to, you know, reach out to people with listings that have been on the market 100 days, just know in the back of your head that they've been presented seller, you know, creative finance opportunities. All right. Just know that whenever you're talking to them. All right. Just throwing that out there. Does that make sense of what I'm saying? Okay. I'm not trying to stray you away from talking to these people. Just know that if a listing's been on the market for over 100 days or 90 days, that agent has been called several times about doing something creative.
Creative, wholesale, all of that.
All of it.
Yeah. I would say about the 60-day mark is when like we started getting calls. Like we had an innovation that we had listed, and like as soon as it hit 60 days, we got a ton of, hey, would y'all consider seller financing? It's like, no, this is an innovation.
Right. Exactly.
We can't, unfortunately. We already tried that.
So-
Seller was open.
Right. And so to combat that, like first to market is always important in this industry, right? Being the first person to whoever, your seller, that agent, whatever. So if it's a property that's listed, you really like the location, you really like the contract price, whatever, be the first person to reach out. Regardless if they're, if they say, oh, it's only been listed 24 hours. Well, I just wanted to solidify a relationship just in case something doesn't work out. I want you to remember, whatever, right? But always being the first person is always key. That's from my experience. Does that make sense? Even on the off-market side too. I've gotten several deals where I was the first person to reach out. They haven't even considered selling, right? Then the thought process, and then they're like, "Oh, Zach, I saved your number because you were so nice, and I think I'm ready to sell." 120 days after the initial call. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Anybody else have anything? I think Jab's is going to come in and underwrite. Have you seen him?
If Jabs is on the phone, you know what's happening when he's talking.
So what do you look for when you're trying to decide which ones to look for? Because everyone I've talked to, they only look for those days on market. So if you're saying like get there earlier, like what would you look for then?
Yeah.
So I'm a location guy, right? I only buy in certain locations, and I'm actually getting outside of that. Like I'm actually, I think in Q2, starting Q2, I'm going to start branching out to other markets. But I like buying in certain areas.
Okay.
So if a property is in Richardson, I don't buy in Richardson, I don't really care. I just didn't listen on the market, right? Because everyone's different. I buy for myself. I'm not even looking. I don't even like wholesale, honestly. Like I hate paying taxes, right? So I like to buy stuff and hold it over time. And plus, I still have my W-2. I don't really need the money right now. But you're just developing all that, bringing up your portfolio. So at some point, you can leave the W-2, right? And you also get the tax benefit of depreciation. You also get appreciation too. Yeah. So I'm different from most people where they just want all the cash, which is great, right? Just know you're gonna be paying taxes.
So your leads, you're just looking to keep to yourself. You see something you like, you see you can keep it or wholesale it or.
Don't get me wrong though. If I get a lead and it's hot and ready like Caesar's Pizza on my website, and it's like, well, the basis is good. They're asking for they want $130,000 on a $330,000 house. I'll wholesale it all day long.
Yeah, of course.
Even if it's an area I don't buy, right? But I'm not just looking primarily at wholesale. I'm looking primarily to keep myself.
So let's have that conversation.
Sure.
As an experienced investor, when you're having these conversations, are you going into it with the single mindset, like, oh, I've got a wholesale? Or,
that's a great,
am I going to be creative? Because I can tell you from Zach's background, from some of my background, we're walking in to see what that deal is. Yeah. Is that a creative deal? Is it a wholesale deal? Right. Is it an ovation deal?
Right.
100%.
Because as I'm listening to that homeowner, that seller, or that agent, what problems can I actually fix here?
Exactly.
I'm not going in. I've got to just do wholesale. Because whether or not I know how to do that novation, guess what? Because of today, hey, Ashley, I got an ovation. I'm a little bit fuzzy on this. You think you can help me with this?
Yeah.
You guys have more experience in these networking rooms to take down deals that you never even thought you had that potential to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And just like Zach said earlier, if it comes down to it, you have no idea what direction these conversations are going to go. If it comes down to it, where this may be something creative. Wow, thank you for providing that information for me. Let me get this to my numbers guy. We'll give you a call back here shortly. Then be on the phone to Zach. Hey, I got something I think fits your buy box. Would you help me through this?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. We pitch like the wholesale offer first normally.
Yeah, sure.
And even if we know that it's kind of not going to work, but that's also sometimes when we get some of that additional information, like with even like harder sellers, like we have one working right now, like he absolutely has to have 280. He wouldn't tell us why, but then after we pitch our cash offer, he's like, oh, man, I don't know how I'm gonna make this work. I owe 280. And we're like, awesome.
Right.
He literally is willing to take what he owes on it. So then we're gonna be like, okay, hey, like let us like see what we can do to help like solve your problem. And then if we need to, that's when we get, like, Brandon, I think, called up Diego or something, or somebody like that about it, about like, hey, like, can you help me like pitch creative a little like better, you know, like sub 2 and stuff like that. And then that also like, I think that also helps make them a little bit more open to it, because I don't know about you guys, but like, has any seller ever hit you guys with, okay, well, let me see what other options are out there? Like, there's a lot of people that want to like still get other like offers maybe, or like see what they could list it for a market. If you already give them like, if you talk to them about multiple avenues, they feel like they already explored all their options with you. Like, they explored what a cash offer would look like. They know why that wouldn't work, or maybe why they don't want to do a cash offer. So it makes like our novation pitch a lot easier. They're like, oh, okay, cool, that gets me a lot more money. I don't care if it's going to take me 3 months to get the money. Let's go that route, you know? And they feel like they got a lot more. They feel like they already explored all their options with you if you're able to present multiple exit strategies.
That's how I got my first deal, just
Yeah.
kind of going through the motions with them.
Yeah.
And they still left to go, they said they wanted to have like an investor fight, or like, when I'm like, they all run the same numbers, but he ended up coming
Typically,
back
we're
to
not
me.
playing that game, so if we feel that that's the water, yeah, go ahead and play it.
That's what we do
He
too.
ended up
And then,
coming
and then sometimes, but sometimes they come back. Because a
So,
lot of
excuse
people only pitch cash. Oh, no, you're good.
So with the agent, the seller, you hit them with all your options, or you hit them with one option?
Oh, we don't do a lot of agent stuff, so I wouldn't be the good one
Well,
to talk to about
I
that.
think rather than coming into a conversation where I'm expecting this conversation, I need this conversation to happen in this form or fashion, start having those conversations and start listening.
Right.
I've had, when I started teaching a lot of new people who are saying, I'm going to do agent outreach, or I'm going to do seller, I've said, get on the phone, call 15 to 20 people. I don't even want you to think about what type of real estate transaction you're going to paint this as. What I want you to do is actually stop, listen, and let that conversation develop organically. Then you can go, hey, well, you could do this, you could do that, and you start checking off those boxes, and then you kind of bring them to the conclusion what makes best sense to them. When I used to walk into old sellers calls, I walked in with a cash offer, a novation offer, and a creative one, and I'd sit there and go, these are my offers, and I'd lay each one of them out. Which one makes the most sense to you? Or if I know a specific problem, hey, here, let's do this. But one thing I did want to bring up, how many people in here have had that call that just went south? It just went south.
Everybody should have had that.
Yeah. So my question to you is, what did you guys do with that phone call after?
Gave it to my husband.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. So I want to remove that fear from you guys of calling. I don't care if that conversation goes south. What happened? You took action. You called. You got more information about that. I call a seller, and all of a sudden this conversation goes south. They don't like my personality. They don't like my voice. Whatever. Guess what happens? Now I've got all that information. Hey, Zach, guess what I just found out? Here's his pain points.
Yeah.
So now I've taken all that, but you guys have this network. Don't think that you're there by yourself, and because you called and that call didn't go your direction, tee the next person up with that. JV. Use that as a JV.
Yeah, we've done that multiple times.
I did it on my first deal.
Yeah.
But I JV with myself. My name, it's a long story.
That's what Brandon does half the time.
I figured you had multiple personalities.
Yeah, I did. My first deal I closed with Graham Hill. My name is Zach, but I told the seller my name was Graham Hill because I had 2 phones at the time. And I reached out to him from a different phone number. I knew he was a red seller.
Yeah.
I knew he was a red seller at that point. He was just not a nice person.
Yep.
But I gathered that information and just reached out to him from my other phone as a different person.
Yep.
Yeah. And I locked it up
That
as
has crossed my mind.
as Graham
Oh,
Hill.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
I
my
mean,
Google phone now.
Yeah.
people, I can tell you one of my funniest stories. Levon and all of them have heard this. I was buying a house pre-foreclosure in Plano, and 8 in the morning, I'm out filming the entire neighborhood, and this guy is literally sitting in his living room, no shirt on, just a pair of jeans, drinking a beer at 9 o'clock in the morning. So what guy's home at 9 o'clock in the morning on a weekday drinking a beer? He sees me filming the house, comes running out, telling how he's going to beat me, getting a fight and everything. He's like, what's going on? I was like, Oh, I do apologize. I represent a number of investors that are looking to buy in this neighborhood, and they sent me out to find anything about the neighborhood. What is it like living here? Oh, well, man, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I was like, have you and your neighbors had any foundation issues? Any leak? Oh, no, man, and the schools are great. So he went from, I'm going to beat you, to then telling me everything about his house.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You gotta have that confidence. You gotta have the confidence. And you gotta have the confidence so a seller can sense if you have confidence, right? And I think that's why I'm able to get the deals that I do get, because I approach them in a way that I don't need to buy your house. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be perfectly fine if I don't buy your house, right? And they can sense that. And they're like, well, everyone else is like really pushing me and being really pushy on the phones with trying to buy my house. Why is this guy different? Right?
And how do you say no more often than you say yes versus the waiting for the seller to say yes?
Yeah, I say no a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're at that stage where
Yeah.
it goes, no, this is not going to work.
I actually, I don't think I'm your buyer on this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep, that's what we say a
I'm
lot.
probably not your buyer at that price, or
Like, well, what do you need?
I don't think I'll be okay with that.
But then
So
that's
what are
the
their
thing, 'cause if
responses
you're on a
when
call, like,
Like, what
think
are
of
you
the
looking
seller,
for?
like, if
What
they're
do you
on
mean?
10
Yeah.
calls every single time, and it's the same person just going through that same thing, but you're the different one, they're obviously gonna see you
Yeah.
more than those other 9 guys, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just about being different, having that confidence, especially.
Yeah.
If you don't have confidence, they can sense it, and they'll go the wrong direction.
And doing that throws them off because it's something that they don't expect. Like they expect you to be trying to like sell them and like close them, and then when you tell them no, they're like,
They'll start
what?
selling you.
Exactly.
They'll start selling it to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean you don't want to buy my house?
No.
No, seriously, it works.
Right,
It works.
right.
But I think, and I was talking to a group of people the other day, they haven't got their first deal yet, so they're so hungry. So each lead is like they're dying to get the deal.
Mhm.
But if you get out of that mindset and have an abundance mindset, you're going to continue to get leads. Deals are going to come to you, right? You got to make sure that you're talking to these sellers the right way,
Yeah.
right? Don't ignore the red
Yeah.
flags, right? If it's not a deal, it's not a deal. You know? So.
Have you ever been referred from buyers, like buyers who are like who dealt with you? No, sellers, sorry.
Yeah.
Sellers that dealt with you. and
Yeah,
you referred them.
I have. Yeah, nope, bro. Referrals are the best lead sources.
100%.
The
Last
best
year
lead sources.
in 2022, we did $98,000 off of one person that referred us multiple deals.
Yeah. I made
$98,000
50 off
revenue.
one deal. Yep. And they gave me a fire review too. That one review I get that the seller left me has brought me deals.
Where are you utilizing it? Are you doing it on your website?
Yeah, on my website.
Yeah.
I have a lot of reviews on my website, and I also have a lot of like Google My Business. That's where the reviews are as well. So I'll direct people to my Google reviews, and that's a great thing about online lead generation. Sellers that go online and search for stuff, they're going to do their due diligence before they reach out to you. So if you get on the phone with them, they know who you are already. That's the beautiful thing about the internet. Now the caveat obviously is if you're a dirtbag, then they're going to know that too, right? So that's the beautiful thing about online lead generation. And again, I'm not telling you cold calling, texting, direct mail, all that stuff doesn't work. But for me and for what I'm trying to accomplish in my life, online lead generation is working for me. I'm going to continue.
Is that time save?
Say it again?
Is that for like time? I mean, it's why you leaning on.
Well, I wouldn't say it's so much for time because I've done I still have VAs, right?
Yeah.
It's just the quality of lead is a lot better,
Okay.
right? And I don't really want to have to follow up with 1,000 sellers to get a deal.
Yeah.
I want to be able to just, have my website, and if 10 people come to my website, fill a form out, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get a deal out of it. Whether it be a wholesale, whether it be fix and flip, whether it be, I can refer to agents. I do that a lot.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of leads that sellers just want retail. They want retail, that's fine. So us as investors, one thing we got to understand is that we're problem solvers. We literally are problem solvers. We're in it to make money. Of course, there's an opportunity for that, but you can make money by providing value to other people. See what I'm saying? And so if I get a lot of retail leads and I'm not an agent, well, I know several agents that I know will take care of these people. So why not get a piece of the commission or get a finder's fee or whatever they call it, referral fee, right? You can make money that way, right? And so that's something really to keep in mind.
Outbound marketing is a lot to manage too. So like he has a W-2, which would be really hard to manage outbound marketing with while doing that. Like we do a lot of outbound marketing. That's like our biggest thing, but like it's a lot to manage.
Yeah.
I had a question for you.
Yeah.
So like, by you being licensed, doing wholesale and investor as well, like, do you have trouble Or I guess I would ask, what's your strategy for, like, people who may come to you? Are you listing a lot of properties, or like,
I've
how you
only
decide?
listed our properties, like our flips, I can't list our novations because my broker won't let me.
Yes.
And then our bank rentals and stuff like that, I'll list those. But other than that, at the very beginning, I tried to get into that side. It was way too much. I couldn't do either of them successfully, and I realized I liked and enjoyed the investment side of it more, and there was more money in it for me anyway. So I went that direction.
What does it benefit you now at this stage in your career to have your license and do what you do?
MLS access, I think, is the biggest thing. I do like it for credibility as well, and since I already put the money and time into getting it, I don't want it to lapse. So I kind of just keep it up. Plus, like, I can get paid like referrals and stuff like that, like commissions. Like, I could do commission splits instead of a finder's fee.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's not honestly a huge benefit other than kind of credibility. You know, like it helps me sometimes. Like, especially if we're doing agent outreach, sometimes I'll reach out and I'll be like, hey, you know, I'm an agent as well. We're actually doing one right now where I'm acting as the buyer agent for one of our sellers. So we're buying her property, and she needed help like buying a condo. And so, I mean, it's only gonna be like a $3,000 commission, but hey, it's $3,000. I'll put that into my like personal account or something, you know? So it's just a little bit extra every once in a while. I would not recommend people like focus on that because honestly, it held me back. Like I spent like 3 months, like when we could have been getting into wholesaling, trying to get my license, taking all the courses and all that stuff. And I wish I hadn't really at the time, but like in my head, I thought I had to be licensed, I had to have MLS access, and I couldn't do it without it. But you definitely can.
I think that's one of the things that I saw in my business is the actual mental pressure that it puts on you to
100%,
have both a license but also no wholesale. And
It
so
is.
I saw myself like shut down because it's like wearing two different hats and which
Yeah.
one I'm supposed to pull
I
out.
know. I basically don't even tell people I'm licensed. Like my husband brings it up all the time.
Yes.
He uses that for credibility too. Like, oh, my wife's a realtor. You know, like
No,
she
we're
always looks at
alive.
all of our contracts.
Yes.
She handles the transaction, so he uses it for like additional credibility and stuff like that too.